Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of SCM Talk Show. We are in season 4 now. We completed 3 seasons of SCM Talk Shows. If you remember, our first talk show, that was the last episode, was on DDMRP approach to inventory optimization, where Ganesh talked about how to optimize inventory using DDMRP. Now, this episode is a special one. This episode is on the adoption of supply chain analytics. I'm sure it's a very hot topic, and everyone is very interested in knowing what is analytics and how to go about it, and how to acquire the skills. And it's been this topic. I mean, this actually expertise in a big demand nowadays. And when we talk about digital supply chain, people also talk about supply chain analytics. So this topic has been chosen from your responses. I think a lot of people gave the feedback that you would like to have a session on analytics. So here we have it today, and also we have to depend on the availability of good speakers. So as usual, what Nishush announced, we are going to record this session, and after recording, we are going to make it available for free on our KnoWerX mobile app and our YouTube channel both. Okay, and like our normal practice that we have, we will put everyone on mute now, right now, listen only mode. Okay, so please, I request everyone to keep your videos off and keep your mic off. And if you have any questions, and I think I would encourage you to type the question as the question comes to your mind in the chat box. Okay. And what we will do is towards the end, if we have time available, if the time permits, we'll try to answer those questions, So it's my pleasure today to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Sheila Roy, Assistant Professor, Operations, Supply Chain Management, and Quantitative Methods. So Sheila holds a PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Her doctoral research focused on service operations and management. She holds a master's in operations administration from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Okay. In her professional career spanning 28 years, she worked in information technology, finance, insurance, consulting, and hospitality. She passionately led startup initiatives also in the technology and digital space and converted them into robust business models. She has managed critical functions such as telemarketing channels, data warehousing, marketing analytics framework, Six Sigma quality improvements, and market research. In her consulting assignments, she has led various programs in the digital ecosystem, such as e-business process design and analytics-driven marketing and sales process management. She joined academics in 2015 after she was a practitioner earlier and joined academics in 15, and reflects her passion for conducting research, offering consulting and connecting management development programs with corporates and institutions. Her research and teaching interests span service e-commerce, analytics, and service excellence. She has been the associate program head for fellow program in management at SPJIMR and managed the admission process for the PGDM program for 4 years. So welcome, Sheila. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Ravindra. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, actually, thanks. Thank you for accepting our invitation to share your practice-oriented insight for our listeners. And I don't want to waste time. We'll have a lot of insights. We would like to utilize your time to get more insights on supply chain analytics. So coming to today's topic, which is a very interesting one, very hot one. My question is analytics just a fancy name? I also come from an IT background, and we have done a lot of report developments and data warehousing, business intelligence tools, and so on. So is analytics just a fancy name for better version of old tools like reports and business intelligence? How it is different?
Okay. The whole of supply chain analytics, as it has evolved over the last 20 years, reporting, dashboarding, BI are still extremely important and critical functions, right? But what has happened over time also is because of the fact that we have a lot of data right now because of digitalization. So what what precedes right now the different forms of analytics is actually the digitalization which has been happening over the last 20 years. Ever since the internet has allowed communication, data communication, to sort of move up many folds, right? So one aspect has been the internet and how it has helped communication. The second aspect is also the growth of technology in terms of the kind of processing speeds that we have, right? Suddenly what has happened is we were able to democratize all the statistical learning that was embedded in textbooks before and was available to only a few people. Suddenly it became available to a large mass of people. It became accessible to organizations in a bigger way, right? Because of all the open source codes and things like that. So what it has made possible is that I'm sorry about this. What it is made possible nowadays is that it is not only reporting and dashboards which are possible. Reporting and dashboards have also become visualizations. But the other part, which is the predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, which was again in the purview of only a few organizations, that also has become very democratized, and it is there right in the front end of many managers today for them to be able to take action. So therefore, of course, it is a fancy name. Analytics is a fancy name because a lot of us, talk about it, and we are yet to understand it a lot. But there is a lot which has also happened in analytics over the last 20 years to allow it to, sort of really have a good impact now across the board. Sorry, Ravindra, I'm not able to hear you. I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I think you said this is evolved over the last 20 years, right? So can you,
yes,
give us an insight of how it has evolved?
So what has been happening over the last 20 years is, if you look at the internet, has been around from, say, the start from the 85 onwards, right? But if you see the first really very large scale application in terms of all of us knowing about the internet has been the AOL, in the US. And the big name there also is Amazon, right? The way Amazon, Dell, a lot of these companies started digitalizing using the internet for actually getting in touch with consumers and to the end consumers, right? And because of this, what has happened is there are three types of analytics: descriptive, predictive, prescriptives, right? And then flavors of it, we call exploratory analytics and so on. But largely in these three domains, over the last 20 years, what we have seen is, as you mentioned, descriptive analytics was BI tools, Cognos, things like that before, right? Data warehousing. Today, the art and science, and I should say the art of science, of being able to visualize these numbers in great graphics, right? The graphical representations of it. So the technology of creating great graphics at SEALs have evolved. So therefore, reporting descriptive analytics is no more just dashboards, which means Excel sheets. It has evolved into visualization, right? A very important part. Predictive models earlier used to be about, insurance companies doing a survival analysis or one odd model somewhere implemented, which would tell you, whether there's a customer is going to renew or not, or whether an person will, an insurance person will renew or not, whether a person is going to die or not in an insurance actuarial sense, right? So it was the actuaries who were using these predictive models. Today, you see the same regression, so to speak, equation has been embedded in every kind of, predictions that people are trying to do, whether it is about not only about marketing, but also about, various interesting use cases within healthcare, within travel, within various kinds of industry. So pretty much every industry has started using descriptive analytics right now. Then there is prescriptive analytics, which earlier used to be those network models that we used to talk of, right? That was also prescriptive. That is basically OR, operations research. So operations research will tell you, given a certain objective functions, given certain constraints, what's the best decision you can take. Now, 20 years back, this used to happen. We have built most of our networks, right? The networks of our warehouse and plants based on these kind of tools and models. But today, what is possible is this is possible at a larger scale. One. And second is more that immediately that a decision is taken, the decision is fed back. There's a feedback loop going on into the model. That used to take maybe months, 5-6 months before. Today, it's in the matter of seconds that is going back, right? So all of these types of analytics have, over the last 20 years, again, based on digitalization, based on technology, have evolved far more in terms of the use cases have increased, one, which is it's gone into many other domains, and it's become more democratic. So more number of managers can access it. So this is how it's evolved, I think, over the last few years, 20 years, actually.
Thank you so much. Now, my next question, which is a very important one. I think when we talk about these, technical tools, everyone has one question in mind. Do I have to be a programmer? Okay, or do I need to just have functional knowledge? Can I pick up this, skills? Because the skills are in demand, but who should do these business analytic courses? And whether functional professionals or technical professionals, or do they have to write codes? Do you have to do programming? What sort of what do you do?
Okay. So, that is actually quite a tricky question. And, like a good MBA professor, I think the answer is it depends, right? So that I would like to say. It all depends on what is your functional expertise, right? So you might be technical, you might already be in the IT field, right? So if you are in the IT field, obviously you can grow your business analytic knowledge many times more by understanding and taking up any of the technology tools and furthering your understanding of the statistics around it, right? The statistics and the OR domain. So definitely you can enhance your skills by knowing these things if you're in the technical domain. So as a technology, you should not only be able to write code, but you should also be able to know, have an in-depth knowledge of, at least a working knowledge of statistics. So if I say that there is something which is called a bias, then you should know what it means, right? From a technical point of view. From a functional point of view, if you have been in the domain and you've been working there for about 10-15 years, it's very difficult, to suddenly switch and become a coder, a programmer, right? And it's not advisable at all. Then I think what you should focus on is first, go back to the basics, and you'll have to understand that how is technology actually changing the way your business is being disrupted or your business is being changed, right? So you can no more operate in the same manner if you're extremely, even if your industry is even now very manual driven. There is a lot of disruption going on in your industry. So you might have suddenly there are these platforms or these marketplaces which have disrupted industry. For example, Uber has disrupted the taxi mobility industry, right? Make My Trip came and it disrupted the travel industry. So traditional industries have been disrupted by these newer agencies. So what functional heads, what functional or business people on the ground or with domain knowledge need to do is they don't need to get into coding for supply chain analytics, but they do need to have a strong understanding of how technology can be used in order to improve productivity, improve revenue, reorient their process, reorganize their processes, and what's available in the market for you to do things smarter and quicker. So this understanding is required. That is one. Second is when you understand these technology, you understand these technologies, you should also be able to understand that, what is the problem that you're trying to solve. So today, unfortunately, analytics, many people take a software first approach, which is in the sense they say that this software is very good, right? That shouldn't be the case. If you're a functional or a domain expert, what you need to do is be able to specify the problems that you're facing very well, and then be able to map how technology can help you solve these problems. If you have an understanding of that, you will then be able to recognize those analytics vendors and software vendors who will be able to help you solve your problems, right? So, so therefore, just to summarize, if you're a technical person, yes, try and enhance your skills in terms of statistics as well as OR. If you're and also obviously there's a lot of change in the IT industry in terms of supply chain analytics. But if you're a functional person, it needs to be more about your understanding of the business, your understanding how technology is disrupting your business, and based on that, what problems it is being able to solve, and therefore what kind of analytics you need to see in order for you to run your business well. So it's about how you should consume analytics rather than how you should create analytics, right? So that strong understanding needs to develop.
Thank you. Very clear. Very, very clear. Thank you. So I think one thing I understood very clearly is if somebody who wants to be proficient in analytics, he or she needs to have statistics knowledge, stats and OR. So these two knowledge is very important.
That is
What
if you're
are
going to be
other
in the that is only
technical
if you're
side?
going to be in the technical field, right? Technical field as in you're going to be creating the product. So if you're in the technology space, then you need to do that. But if you're in the business space, you're already in the functional space, then what you need to do is more in terms of a deeper understanding of the business.
So any specific things that you will see skills that people need to acquire to be seen as analytic proficient, especially managers?
Skill, like I mentioned, the skill actually lies not so much in the software or the technology. It's being able to map your business processes and understand that if there is a technology disruption which has happened, how has your business processes involved, or how has your business processes changed? So the impact of technology on your business, that you need to understand really well. And then based on that, you need to understand that, okay, now that I know that these are the problems I need to solve, this is how technology is shaping it, what are the analytics that I can consume? So what metrics can I look at? How will I look at those metrics? How will those metrics evolve? What kind of predictive models do I need to build for my business? What kind of prescriptive analytics do I need? So it is more about the kind that I need rather than the technology and the statistics behind it. So two very different two very different kind of skill sets, I would say.
So I would also assume that people who are business analysts who can do analytics in business, they would have to have the domain knowledge like banking or insurance or manufacturing or distribution,
Absolutely.
supply chain,
Yeah, absolutely.
So one particular buzzword is predictive model. How effective are they in really predicting what we want? I mean, I think everyone probably can think of very common predictive model will be in demand planning. So demand
Right.
planning is one
Yes.
thing which is, I think, a need for every business. So I think everyone who is logged in here, who is listening to this session, would agree that demand planning is one big need of predictive. So
So basically, predicting, what you're saying is predicting demand, being able to predict the demand in the market. The way that has evolved is in earlier times we used to do predictive models. You had a whole of this time series models that would be built up. These time series models would depend on sales within your organizations, within the boundary of your organizations. Today, what you have is there is a lot of data which is there outside the organizations which can be leveraged in order to build your plans better.
Absolutely.
Right. So there is a lot of new data, as they call big data, the variety of data which has increased. Sometimes we just don't think that way, right? Or even if you were to go and find out demand for a particular product, if you were to go to just, sort of these newer platform portals like the Flipkarts and the Amazons of the world, and then be able to cull out some data from there or some understanding from there, and then build your demand plans. And even Google Trends, for example, imagery data, right? Data from social media, so on and so forth. So there are many kind of new data sources that have come, which are helping you get your predictive models to be more accurate. And obviously, along with the access to data, the models by which you're building the predictive models have also become far more sophisticated. Helping, the accuracy levels have increased. The machine learning algorithms have become much more robust. So all of that has also happened over the years.
So I think how it is related to AI ML, and with the rise of this AI ML, has the flavor of BI and reporting gone down?
Not in the least, because I still think that today most managers, 70%, at least 70% of the work is still a lot to do with descriptive analytics, which is what is happening in the past, and we have a pulse on your business, right? Most managers are going to be involved in that. And as I mentioned right in the beginning, in descriptive analytics, what has changed is earlier you would see these boring reports. Now you can have a lot of interactive drill down visualization kind of an immersive experience in analytics. So it's become more democratized. If you're using a certain software product, today an ERP solution or a supply chain management solution or a CRM solution will not just give you a solution in order to map processes. It comes with product analytics. What does that do? It basically helps companies or managers understand the analytics behind the process is much better. So they're able to do that. So all of this has also been evolving and enhanced quite a bit over the years.
I think one question I think everybody will have in mind, who are all logged in right now, that what is the kind of investment, if my organization is small and, I may not have those skills, how do I go about using supply chain analytics?
Even if your organization is small, there is just doing your basics right on descriptive analytics and is important. So it's not just because there are new shiny things you throw away the old time tested things, right? That doesn't happen. And if you're a small organization, you keep doing that better. What you need to do now is saying that, is there any way in which I can use data from outside the organization in order to do a better job at my analytics? So today in analytics, you really are not restricted or constrained by what data only you have. You are a part of many supply chains, right? So you must be connected through APIs to a whole set of other networks. You might be doing some work on platforms itself. So your industry, if that has been disrupted, for example, if I take lubricants as an industry, now if lubricants as an industry has a marketplace in itself, and you're probably putting up some of your products, now the whole, it's like an Amazon in the lubricants industry, if I may to just give a comparison. The moment that happens, what happens is this kind of a platform, the interaction in the platform, you get to know a lot of these data because you have reviews, you have more access to other customers, and therefore using all of that information in order to come up with, say, for example, a lot of reviews, in fact, give you a lot of insights on what new product features to be implemented or what new service can be implemented, right? So you can get a lot of intelligence from external data. And that could really help even very small organizations. I mean, if you look at it today in the consumer space, right, you have a lot of these D2C brands. They are very small organizations, but they operate on a website. Every organization is building a website, if not a mobile app. There are people interacting in it. How do you use the data which is emerging from that website and produce or get insights from there as to how your consumers are behaving, how your partners are behaving? So small or big, there's always opportunity to look beyond your organization and then see what are the kind of data available and then work on it accordingly.
Very interesting. And since you said that, the reviews can be used as input to, decide, how to improve your product or services. So reviews are usually in textual, it's actually textual data, right?
Right.
So can AI process, can the analytics process textual data also?
Yeah, it is very much possible. You have data mining today possible in terms of with the text data. Text mining is possible. And it's a very big field in itself. It started with all the sentiments of the reviews on Facebook and all the social media, Twitter, etc. But today, for example, I'm working currently on a project in which I'm able to assess service failures in B2B, supply chains through access to some of these reviews. So it gives you quite a bit of insight.
Thank you. So my next question would be, in which all areas, especially in supply chain management, because most of our listeners are supply chain management professionals, in which all areas, analytics can be applied or is being used most of the time?
Like you said, demand, everyone's bothered about demand. So, demand planning, usually the first place that people go to in terms of trying to incorporate any analytics ends up being in demand planning. There's a lot of work which is going to go on in the logistics space too, right? Inventory is a big cost that sits on all our books. And a good knowledge of where your inventory is lying and which warehouse, in which state, in which location, is only going to help you or is only going to ensure that you're able to keep your inventory in the right place at the right time, right? So a lot of analytics is actually going to be used in terms of optimizing your inventory itself and inventory locations. And a big part of that is actually automating your entire logistics network. So there are many solutions which organizations build, and this is something which is to be built collaboratively, right? It is to be built across organizations. So there are third-party solutions which have come, which are trying to integrate organizations and then give a very transparent view of where your inventory is lying. Now, that is another very big area in which, if we get that right, we will be saving a lot of cost, especially related to our inventory. Then, and in every other field, then sourcing, to name a few, in terms of, one of course, even in sourcing, there's a part which is the logistics, but the kind of information that you have about your partner supply chain, upstream supply chain partners, the kind of procurement that you would do, sort of do. So there's an interesting case I was reading the other day in, say, Unilever, right? Now, Unilever has also, what they are trying to do is, palm oil is something that they import in quite a large quantity for all their personal care products. This palm oil comes from the Southeast Asian countries. They're actually trying to see, using analytics, right, and satellite imaging, be able to estimate that are they creating pockets of deforestation, and how to avoid that, how to ensure that there is no rampant scale deforestation happening because of the excess amount of, or the amount of palm oil that is being brought in from various places. So they're using data, satellite imaging data, and through that they're able to make an assessment of where they might not be able to achieve their sustainability goals, or if there are vulnerable sections of the society who need to be taken care of. So all of this is emerging from from a sourcing point of view, analytics in the sourcing field itself.
So I think the other thing comes to my mind is transportation, route planning, and all of that.
Right.
Yeah. That is also one big area of concern.
Yeah. Right, absolutely. So I kind of embedded that in part of the entire logistics when I talked about it. There are many subfields within the logistics field of how you, sort of where to position niche. So what is also happening is there is a breakdown, right? You have the 3D printing. So your factories might be getting, sizes might be getting from bigger factories to smaller factories. It could be happening that your warehouses are getting smaller, and therefore it may make sense in order for you to reach deeper and deeper into. So therefore route planning, transportation planning, everything, well, I would embed it within the part of the entire logistics, the move part of the supply chain.
Thank you. Thank you. And in terms of tools, I mean, I'm sure that not everybody is going to use software tools, but what are some of the most popular software tools that are being deployed in a supply chain analytics area?
Okay. So once again, I'd caution everyone to be, take a software first approach in supply chain analytics. So what is also happening over the years is that we used to have these large organizations, IT organizations, who would build an ERP. And obviously, they're the first ones to also incorporate analytics. So if you today look at any of the Gartner or the Forrester reports, you would still find that SAS, whether it's IBM, whether it's Oracle, these are all, every one of them has a supply chain analytics solution, and they will offer those solutions to you, right? And these are good for large organizations. But what has also been happening is there have been these independent platforms which are just mapping the value chain. So they're not only laying down the technology, but they're also laying down the content on it. So they're actively managing the entire process, right? So there are these third-party agencies. So you don't need to actually and then invest in a software as much as you need to invest in a partner who has a technology and can provide you the analytics. So they take your work over as well as they, sort of help you with the analytics and the technology per se. So there are many of these kind of solutions which are increasingly coming, and there are lots of them, right? So I would desist in taking a software first approach. It would be more about understanding the problems that you face, the technology that can help you in terms of the solution that can help you automate your technology, and then take a software approach as to which particular software will help me work with this. So sometimes it's not a software, sometimes it's an agency, sometimes it's a third party that you tie up with. And that's been my approach. That's what I always recommend. So I won't be recommending a certain software if that's what you wanted me to do.
No, I mean, a very good insight. I think that relieves many people. When you talk about software, a lot of people are scared, of learning skills and so on, especially our supply chain professionals. So what are the common challenges faced when implementing or when acquiring? I think one thing I can foresee is the skill sets. Other than that, what challenges are faced when you are going to implement analytics in your supply chain?
So in terms of when you say challenges, it is more in terms of, again, going back to the fundamental things in terms of understanding of the business, right? The bigger challenge is about re-engineering processes based on, what newer kind of technologies are available in order to ensure that there is a less friction in your processes. Right, you are able to reach customers faster at a cheaper cost. You're able to reach your partners, your networks, supply chain collaborators faster, again at a cheaper cost. You're keeping the inventory well within the limits. So you're expected to do all of these. So the challenges actually are more business oriented in the analytics space. If you have that right, building the analytics layer on it is lesser, in terms of challenges. There are people out there who can also help you out here. So knowing this and I would say that embedding the technology first is, I think, the biggest challenge. People don't get that right. And the problem is that people take a software approach. They'll buy a software and then they'll try and figure out the processes. That really, is not advisable.
I think what you're saying is basic supply chain knowledge and the skills come first, and then comes this analytics.
Yeah, it's yes, supply chain knowledge and the the willingness to actually see that there are different ways to do things. You can do the things differently. So sometimes it's more the humans which are more of a challenge.
Humans are always the biggest challenge. I would say always, without without exception. Whatever change management you do, whatever new implementations you do, most of the resistance come from human.
Right.
And my observation is, mid management offers most challenge, not the top management, not the lower strata of the management, but it's always the mid management offers most resistance.
Yeah,
that's been my experience.
They have to take when you look at the mid management also. That's interesting. You say that. You're saying what is happening is you're now the mid management has seen over the last 20 years, right? And it's also the management which has faced the highest amount of disruption in terms of technology disruption.
Absolutely.
Right. So what they were taught with and what they came to the workplace with, the moment you come into the workplace, you get into action. So you're no more, you're actually no more in the learning phase. Right. So what you essentially would need to do is now, as middle management, is I think it's a good thing you pointed that out, because I would say then the biggest challenge is actually getting into a learning mode. So you'll have to get into a learning mode, and like I said, you would have to see what's there out there in the market, be able to adapt it for your industry, which means a very good understanding of your business, how your processes can change because of the technology which is available, and then build the layer of analytics. 80% of the time you'll still be using descriptive analytics. You don't need to be a god in OR, or as a functional person, you don't need to be somebody who knows OR and all of that very well. You'll still be using descriptive analytics, quite honestly. But then you have to know what are the changes you have to make to your processes. So even though it's going to be a supply chain analytics course, that understanding is core critical.
Yeah, I've been also in ERP field for a very, very long time and done several ERP implementations. Most of the challenges come from mid-management, and I think a lot of education training needs to go into that before they start accepting new way of doing business.
So I think it is the time that mid-management actually starts investing a lot of their time and effort in skill building, right? It's having that learning mindset is the biggest thing that one can do for yourself.
Absolutely. So next question, thanks so much for very interesting discussion. Could you also provide some examples of real world applications where supply chain analytics has been delivering significant value, like what we call as case studies?
So if you look at it in terms of use of analytics, right? I mean, if I were to relate it to, if I were to relate it for everyone, the one industry where consumer habit is completely changed is that of e-commerce, and sort of being able to deliver goods directly up to your doorstep. Now, if you see again over the last 20 years, if there has been a massive amount of reorganization as well as a massive amount of enhancement in the supply chain, it's the very fact that you're able to get goods within a certain time frame, right? And how is that possible? That is possible because today all the inventory is tracked right from the sourcing point up till the point it reaches the customers. That has been enabled by e-commerce, right? And that has been purely enabled because of the fact that you have had a layer of supply chain analytics over the technology. So apart from the information flows that are happening between various organizations in e-commerce, it's been layered by analytics. So you exactly know how much time is taken at each leg of the journey. And as a result of which you've been able to bring down that time significantly. So I would say one of the very use cases, right, or examples is right up in front of us, which is basically the e-commerce industry.
Thank you so much. And are there any new trends which are shaping up supply chain analytics?
Everything is new. What is not new in the supply chain analytics? All is new. If I were to pick one, yes, with the increase, again, there are different types of technology now that you have generative AI and artificial intelligence. The prescriptive analytics part has become all the more important. Today, because what is happening is you have these machines right now who are able to make decisions. Now, in some of them are simple decisions. For example, just to, how much stock do I order become a simple decision, right? In terms of, because that is completely automated and data driven. But then there are some very complex decisions which need to be taken in, right? For example, you were mentioning routing. Now, when you talk of routing, you will get some decisions from the AI tool, but only you know what's happening on the ground, right? Realities on the ground, political uncertainties, some other things. So when you're implementing any of those solutions, you can't implement it just from the what the machine gives you. Then the humans have to get involved. Now, so the new thing which has come up is how do human beings and machines work together in order to implement some of the machine-led decisions. So that is in the realm of prescriptive analytics. So there's been a maturity in descriptive analytics into visualizations. It's become much more democratic. People will see a lot of these visualizations and be accessible to these dashboards. But if you talk of something completely new, it's how the AI, the prescriptive analytics through AI, artificial intelligence, is shaping this human machine behavior, and understanding the role of human beings in this is again very, very important.
Thank you so much. And I think there are a lot of questions. So, I would want to leave some time for people to get their answers. Before I do
Sure.
that, I have one question. Where can
Yes.
people go to learn more about supply chain analytics? Especially all supply chain professionals that we have on the in this session. Where can they go? What can they do to learn more and maybe get into being an expert?
Okay. What I would suggest is, yes, since it's again a good place to start with Forrester and Gartner, these kind of reports. But quite honestly, these reports are also expensive. I understand that these are expensive reports. You may not have access to it. Um, Textbooks will give you a knowledge about, textbooks become dated very soon because if they would have been written 5 years back, there are newer things that have happened, which means the only place that you can go to are places where the technology solutions are helping build supply chain analytics, right? So all of these organizations, well-known organizations, have created blogs, right? So they've created blogs, and these blogs are a good place in order to go and check out, so the technical details, the software solutions, and these kind of things. So once you start searching for these kind of things in Google or any of the other, now even in Chat GPT, so on and so forth, these recommendations come to you. So over a period of time, what I found is a good place of learning is keep searching for information. As you search for information, then recommendation engines itself will suggest more and more, places that you can go to. So go and register yourself for newsletters for all of these places, which is the blogs and so on and so forth. It could be Microsoft, it could be Google Cloud, it could be AWS for that, all that you know. And then, you'll be able to know which are the ones, which are the latest ones of the implementations. And once you know that, you can go and then again search for that as to what exactly was the implementation about. And therefore, knowledge is not going to be you can't just pick up a textbook and then, so read of end to end and be sure. You should do that. There are some very good textbooks out there as well, but they tend to be more in terms of technical in nature. If you want to know what's exactly happening in the industry, then a good place to go is, I think, at least these kind of blogs. There are a lot of these content aggregators who've publishing stuff which is related to supply chain itself. A lot of them are on supply chain. Really good information is available, and you should do some courses that KnoWerX is, from holding from time to time to get a sense of it, to get a good grip of it.
Thank you so much. Especially, I think when you get into a new field, there are new vocabulary that is attached. And most often, the difficulty I think general people have is to understand the vocabulary itself. So I think doing some sort of a course is, always recommended. So you at least get the vocabulary correct, and then probably you can look for more information.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Yes.
So I will stop here because there are a lot of questions, and I will give people chance to get the answers. So Nishtush, can you take over? So thank you so much, Sheila. We have some. Yeah, we have some lot of questions. Thank you so much.
Right. So thank you so much for this quite a knowledgeable session, and I think a lot of people who would have misconceptions, I would say, about analytics would have been cleared. My favorite part was if you have to be a programmer to learning analytics or not. I think a lot of people have always had this dilemma. So in this discussion, I personally had a question which was answered in the last one, which is the best way to educate yourself, being traditional supply chain professionals and not studying about analytics. How can we get the best of the knowledge? So I think we have already covered that. So I'll take the next question which is from Manoj. Is there any difference between data science solution analytics and SCM analytics? And how would it correlate with AI/ML learning?
So SCM is basically your broad domain, right? So supply chain management is your broad domain. Within that, data science is data science typically would cater to that part of analytics where you have huge amount of data available, which is being generated by various kinds of technology. So one is, like I said, the review kind of data, right? The other is website data. Or mobile apps data. There is something which is called clickstream. Every time that you click on something, there is a data which is being generated. Now, in order to analyze that kind of data, you need a very different level of technology, different level of analytics altogether. And these are done by data scientists, data engineers, data scientists work on these kind of solutions, and sort of bring kind of democratize it by bringing just the nutshell of it and presenting it to you. So that's the data science of it, which is more the technical part of it. So within the supply chain field, there is data science, which is, like I said, which is more about managing the data and working on analytics, which is related to very fine, large amount of very high volume, high variety of data, very unique kind of data sets. Your question on AI ML is more to do with ML is more about machine learning, and as well as AI is more about machines being able to make decisions, and that decision actually you can take an action, right? So today, for example, and if I were to say in a marketing sense, today when you do something on the, you go to a certain blog, the moment you go to a blog, what happens is there's information that there is footprints that you've left, handprints rather, that you've left all over, right? So there are these tools which take that particular information that, Manoj has gone to so and so place. They feed that information back into a model. And then what Manoj sees as a recommendation when he next time comes to visit on the internet or goes to his social media handle is AI in action. That means that is what your system action is being taken, right? So AI, therefore AI as well as ML are more in terms of action oriented. They integrate with the system and they do kind of do action for you. So in SCM, you will have AI as well as ML tell you what to do, where to have your plant, where to, sort of situate your plant, what kind of routes that you should be taking in your route planning. And that all is going to come out from AI and ML.
Excellent. I hope
Did I give a very long answer, Nitush?
No, I think it's the relevant answer. So I hope that answers the question for you, Mr. Manoj. We'll take up the next question, which is from Mr. Hanuman. Could you please advise top 3 trends in supply chain that may disrupt the way we work today?
So a lot of it is top 3 that is going to disrupt the way you're working today, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
In supply chain specifically.
Yeah, in supply chain specifically, I think a lot of it is it's more about the human and machine interaction. Like I said, the machines are going to make the decisions, right? As to if I were to look at it from a logistics point of view, these machines are going to make the decisions. Now, some of these decisions cannot be these decisions cannot be left only to the machines, and the humans have to get involved, right? So your role in this entire, the human being's role in this entire, in this entire process is going to evolve very quickly, very fast, and is going to change a lot. And that is one thing that we will have to observe. So it comes under what we call the, we'll talk about this when we're talking about prescriptive analytics, so to speak. But that is what's going to evolve quite clearly over a period of time.
Correct. Thank you. So the next question is my question. I have a question on that. So when we said that, it's actually a follow-up question on how do we get the formal education, and then what I wanted to ask is SCM analytics for freshers? Is it for lower management people, for mid management people, or top management people, or it is open for anyone? Or or do we say that there is a minimum requirement that I should have some experience and only then I will go for analytics?
No, I think it is. See, we are all in a learning phase right now, right? We are and different. All of us would be at different various stages of our learning phase. The more number of sources of information that you access in order to learn about supply chain analytics, these newer technologies, right? The better it is for you, because you're able to triangulate and then get a better picture, an evolved picture. For example, some of these applications that we talk about, the one that I talked about, human-machine interaction, we haven't seen too much of actual implementations, have we? So I might have a point of view based on certain interactions, bit of what I observe in the industry. somebody else may have a completely different interaction. None of these have stabilized. So, therefore, what I think would be a, better way to look at it is saying that, do I want to know supply chain analytics very well? And if I do want to know supply chain analytics very well, then whether it is right the beginning, whether I'm a beginner or whether I'm an evolved person, even if you're an evolved person in terms of having knowledge of it, you will always benefit by learning more about this or knowing newer and newer implementations. So it is always advisable, this particular, at least from this particular course, we've designed it in such a way that whether you're new or whether you already know these things, there would be certain examples, there would be certain kind of implementations and certain procedures that will be done, which will be new for everyone.
Excellent, perfect. So for the audience, the course that Dr. Sheila ma'am is referring to is the Executive Certificate in Supply Chain Analytics. I have shared the link of that course in the chat box if anyone wants to have a look. Right. So the next question is from Mr. Yogesh. He's requesting some insight on Power BI as a tool on decision making.
Okay. Excellent tool. Lots of organizations are using it. So if you want to get hands-on in it and understand it, please do so. But if you're working in an organization which doesn't have Power BI, then it's better to use a tool which the organization, your current organization, is already using. It's like I said, 80% of your work is going to be more in the descriptive analytics, and Power BI, whether it is Power BI, Tableau, these are the two main tools which are available. Are good for these kind of are good skills to pick up.
Perfect. The next question, we do not have the name of that user. So the question is, RPA or similar automation can be a challenge to the traditional SCM?
I think the name of the user is Rashmi.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How do you say, you're talking about robotic process automation, right? So robotic process automations and it being a challenge to supply chain management. It is one of the technology, it can't be a challenge per se, it can only aid, right? So creating, being able to create processes on the go in terms of ensuring that the process works in a certain way, that particular automation. So I just, quite honestly, I didn't understand the question as to why it would be a challenge to SCM.
We can request the user if you want to unmute and yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Shed. This is Rashmi here. I was like, I keep on learning new stuff like, RPA and automations, like supply chain traditional folks can be like automated and old. It can be a challenge for the existing job profiles, things like if the automation is happening more into it. So I just want to understand like how is the things, and should we also be start learning for the automation aspect or like RPA things aspect?
I think see, there are many tools, and if you try to learn each one of the tools only at a very superficial level, it's important to understand the knowledge as to what an RPA does. But actually going in hands-on working on an automation tool may not be kind of required, because to answer your question, it's part of supply chain management. So yes, that way RPA is an important part. Excuse me, but it is also important to first figure out that is it good for the kind of role that you do.
Okay.
Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, it's important to understand, is it good for the role that you're trying to aim for, do, and then work on it and pick that up.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I think if we have just a minute left for the session. So if anyone has any question, you can probably unmute yourself and ask directly right now, or you can just put it in the chat box. But otherwise, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Sheila ma'am for taking out time, joining us on the SCM Talk Show and providing some valuable insights about analytics. I'm sure SCM professionals now know better about it and would probably be at a better position to take a decision on if they want to learn about it, if they want to get into it or not. And once again, thank you, Ravi sir, for being a wonderful host and hosting the second episode of the fourth season. Anything that you want to say to the audience, please feel free to say it now.
No, I would say thank you so much. It was an excellent session. A lot of questions people have about analytics. There is so much buzzword around analytics in this world today. A lot of supply chain professionals feel left out. Okay, so I think it's a very good session to build that awareness. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sheila ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been a real pleasure to be here, and I am thank all the questions also, because some of these questions also help you sort of think through and understand that, are you missing out anything?
Fantastic. So thank you to the audience for joining in, and we have the next episode on 21st of July. Please follow us on LinkedIn to stay updated on the next speaker and the next topic. If you have any suggestions for us, please feel free to write to KnoWerX Education at any point of time, and spread the word about SCM Talk Show with your colleagues so that we get more and more participations with every episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day and have a great weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.